like just not speaking negatively or critically about other people, is something that it's, even though it's habitual, it's quite relatively easy once you're aware of it to kind of temper it somewhat. But guarding your tongue is really is really so much more than that. And I had a couple of experiences where the effect of what people say really impacted a lot, and I wanted to share them with you. So the first one is, I have a little veranda with a chair and a table, and it's a good spot. I sit there mainly on Shabbos, because Shabbos is when we sit. Shabbos is shave, sit. And I really love to sit there and I read, or I daven, or I learn, whatever it is I do. So a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago, a family member joined me, and it was all very pleasant. And as we were sitting there, they said, "Boy, this is the hardest chair I've ever sat on." Now, I'm not sensitive to the chairs I sit on. I'm lucky with that. I don't have any, issues or back issues and anything like that. So it doesn't bother me at all. And it still doesn't bother me. But I can tell you, since that passing comment, every time I sit on that chair, I think, this is really a hard chair. I still enjoy it. I'm still happy. But like every time I sit there, I can't get that out of my mind, And it's something was never there before. It's just like that little negative, like, wow, this is a hard chair. And it's there every time. And I thought, it's just such an innocent comment. But it was a negative comment about the chair. And it's like, I'm stuck with it now. My next example is also an example where I was impacted by somebody else's words. And the thing is, and I think Renee's example also is, and the thing is, we know when other people's words impact us. It's much harder to know when our words impact other people, obviously. And that's the thing that I think we have to be very sensitive of, because even when something is said that's completely almost neutral, faintly negative or critical, it can really actually have an impact. So the second example is over Shavuot. We were doing, actually it was just before, we were working on a project in relation to Shavuot and everything, and doing some work. And there were two of us working on this little project, and we'd had one session, and it really was very positive. We accomplished a lot. We enjoyed what we did, and we were both very much looking forward to the next session. When our next session came around, we sat down. It was in the evening, so, we were a little tired and what have you. And we sat down and we started, and, it often takes a while to get into something. So we're just a few minutes in, and my partner in this project said, "Oh, like, it's fine, but I'm really not in the mood for this." I was like, okay, so, but let's carry on. Let's carry on. It just affected the atmosphere. Like, I'd come with all this enthusiasm. We had such a good time last time. And it's like, well, they don't want to be here. So we continued, and it was a good session, and we did what we had to do. But the atmosphere was destroyed. And actually, I said something. I said, it's like, well, that's a bit, discouraging. Do you want to not do it? It's like, no, it's fine. We'll do it. And I said, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And they said, no, I'm just being honest. So very often, especially in a familiar relationship, one feels that kind of honesty is something you can share. And it's almost like a compliment to the relationship. Nonetheless, it really affected my whole experience of that thing, and just of that session that we had together. And even though it was productive, and even though we did what we needed to do, it really affected the atmosphere. And I thought about it afterwards. I was just really stuck with me, because I thought it was a sharing comment. It wasn't said, with any intention to cause any negativity or harm. It was a sharing. It's like, but I so wish they hadn't, especially since as we got into it, the energy level gets up and the attention gets focused, and it's very different. So those were the two short little things. And I thought it just goes to show how you really don't know, and to be very careful. One of my favorite memes of the last few weeks, I don't know if anybody's seen it, it's really been going around, is it's got two pictures of the earth, two identical pictures of the earth. And it says, picture of the earth, before and after your opinion.
Oh.
We like to express an opinion, but an opinion, if it's not constructive, it's not for any particular purpose, it's just because I need to express my opinion. If that opinion is critical or negative, it's creating a negative energy, and it doesn't change anything constructively or in practice. All it does is create that negative atmosphere. So before one expresses an opinion about anything, I think you really have to just think, is this opinion necessary? Is it for any constructive purpose? Somebody said to me a little while ago, just after this, they said to me, we were talking about, all the Zoom shirim and learning and everything that's going on. It's all so amazing and fantastic. And they said to me, do you listen to so-and-so? Now, so-and-so is a very popular speaker, very entertaining speaker. And I used to love this speaker, and I don't anymore for various reasons. I really don't. But I'm probably in a minority of one. I'm sure there's one other. Out of all the zillion people who love this speaker, I think I'm the only one I know who doesn't. And normally, I would have just said, no, it's not really my thing. I don't really, whatever. And I just said, yeah, they're fantastic. I just kept my opinion to myself. And I was very happy afterwards that I'd had the awareness to do that. So those are the things I wanted to share. Ren, you had an example?
So when Jody told me this, I remember something that happened. At least 30 years ago, but it still sits with me. I can still remember the scene. I was at swimming lessons with my kids. I remember everything about it because and I loved the swimming lessons. I loved the teacher. I thought my kids were doing well. And there was a woman that used to come, her kids were in the same lesson, and she would always complain. So I remember one sitting there, and she complained about the fact that they were swimming in the shade. And this was not a good way for them to swim. And the rest of the lesson, I sat there trying to work out, was it good? Was it not good? Had I made a mistake? My judgment fault. It set off a whole lot of stuff about the swimming lessons. And then, of course, the next time she made a comment about the teacher. And after that, I made up my mind not to go when her kids were there, because I was loving it and thinking it's totally fine. But even the comment about the shade really threw me, because I started, as I say, immediately questioning myself and worrying about the swimming lessons. And I remember it because she was just talking, but actually there was no need for her to give that opinion, and it definitely affected the way I saw those swimming lessons thereafter. It sounds like a little thing, but it definitely did. And even today, I think about all my decisions that came out of it, because I love that thing, Joe, the world before and after an opinion. So there can be something very minute, but there is our need often to express an opinion. And if there isn't a reason for it, to really keep it to yourself, because you don't know what it's going to set off in other people. So the second thing I wanted to say is actually a story about the Chofetz Chaim. Now, the Chofetz Chaim, he wrote all the halachas of, his name was Yisrael Meir Kagan. He wrote all the halachas related to not speaking Lashon Hara. But it's important to know that he himself grew in the kind of way that we're growing awareness. So perhaps when we started this journey, it was, I'm just not going to speak Lashon Hara, and I'm not going to say something blatantly nasty about someone else. But as we grow, it never stops. As we grow, and that's sort of not an issue anymore, maybe we don't do that. There are more subtle levels of, as Jody's talking about, things where our speech can be damaging. So the Chofetz Chaim as well, he wrote and he learned things all the time. And this particular story was that he apparently was introducing one of his students to a girl who's making a shidduch. And he passed an oblique comment. So as I was trying to tell Jody, and I think I can't, it's, you know, when you know someone maybe isn't that attractive and you say she's got a wonderful personality. And if you read between the lines, they're saying she's not that attractive or something. He made an oblique comment about her that, and then the guy met the girl and he loved her and he was going to marry her. And the Chofetz Chaim wrote, and he said, it never sat with him after that. He always knew that his student thought that this girl wasn't, I think it was that pretty, that there was something. So even an oblique comment, when you say it, he then wrote about it. You have to be very careful of what you say, because if you say to someone, if they say, what do you think about this girl I'm dating or this boy I'm dating? And you go, oh, he's got a lovely personality, a bit on the heavy side, or, you know, he should have shaved, or some comment, and they then go on and have a relationship with that person, they always know that you have that negative thought, but they also have now that negative thought. So those two things came to me, and I thought it's such an important thing, because our words carry so much weight, and they definitely affect other people. And the thing I wanted to comment on, Jode, as well, is when you were talking about, you know, your Shavuos experience, is one of the things that can help us is we talk about mimicking or mirroring someone else's energy level. It's a very good way to communicate with somebody. So if someone walks in with a high energy level, what will help us not be negative is to actually go, I'm with this person now, let me up my energy, let me mirror their level, so that we both go into this project together on the same level. So if you're thinking about the other person's level, it does help, especially if someone's excited. You know, someone comes, oh, I bought a new dress, or this is happening, and you go, oh, yeah, no, or that's not my speaker, or I don't really buy from that shop. You know, you just bring that person right down. So rather think about what is that person's energy level and try and mirror it. It will help you not to say anything negative, but to actually go, oh, it is great. Or rather, all you're doing is reflecting what they're saying. You're not being dishonest, because your opinion isn't really that important. It's very rare that what we have to say is that important that we have to dash somebody else or affect the way that they think. Why are you muted, Jode? I can ask you to unmute.
Thanks. Long story. All right, now there's, yes, so just on, there's a couple of things, because I see it's already 10 to 8, and this project that's come up that I really want to share with you was something else I wanted to share with you, actually a Dr. Seuss story, but I'm thinking that maybe we should do this project first, because that's quite important. If there's still time, maybe we can do that. But just to, before I go on to that, just, you know, pulling back on the perspective of and getting a broader perspective of how our speech affects everything. And what I wanted to say is, because we're aware of how other people's speech impacts us, but we're not aware of how our speech impacts other people, that's one of the reasons why Lashon Hara, or bad speech or negative speech, is one of the hardest mitzvahs to do teshuvah for and to make amends for, because you just don't know even where it's gone and what kind of effect it has. And also just to, just something to think about how cosmic speech and the power of speech is that when you look at the 5 books of the Torah, the middle one is Vayikra, and he called with speech. The book we're reading now is Bamidbar, which is Bamidaber, speaking. And if you have a look at all the crises and breakdowns in the relationship between the Jewish people and God in Bamidbar, it's all got to do with speech. You had the complainers, you have Moshe striking the rock instead of speaking to the rock. It's really, as you go through it, have a look, you'll see it's amazing. And then the speech of Bamidbar gives rise to the Devarim, the words of the final concluding book of the Torah. So speech is really like unbelievably cosmic. So that's just something to think about. Now, what's come up is, we mentioned before that there was this Clean Speech Colorado project that they did on a huge scale. But in Chicago, just before Pesach, 2 women did a citywide Shmiras Halashon program. I don't know if they did it immediately or they did a and then they did, but anyway, they did a citywide Shmiras Halashon project, and it was really successful. And the Chofetz Chaim Foundation now want to take this international, and they're looking for lots of cities to do it. The way they envisage it happening is it won't be everybody doing it at the same time. Each city will choose their own time, and it will consist of a 40-day commitment to 1 hour of guarding your speech a day. But the idea is to get as much of the community, so it's the 1 hour of guarding your speech a day that somebody has to commit to, as well as 5 minutes of learning about speech a day. So we could do it in our own time. The idea is to get as many people in the community as possible involved. And there's a prospect we could maybe do it together with Melbourne. And when you said there's somebody in Queensland, so maybe we could even, get the other centers involved, and we could do it in Australia. We could try and do a time, but we've got a month left of this particular block. So I was thinking that we could do it for the next block. We could do this one, which would give us about a month to prepare. But it would involve really contacting all the schools, all the shuls, all the institutions to try to get as much buy-in as possible. The Chofetz Chaim Foundation are offering they'll do all the infrastructure. So they'll do the marketing material. We need to, whichever organizations will support it and endorse it and be involved, get their logos, they'll make up a customized ad for us. They'll do the whole spreadsheet, the whole everything. So people will buy in, and then they will send them a reminder and a daily learning of their choice for the 40 days. And I think it's something that could really certainly give us a lot of inspiration, and it's a great next step for us. And I was wondering how everybody feels about it, what your thoughts are on it.
So maybe people can put their hand up and I'll unmute them.
Everybody's muted.
I'm asking everyone to unmute. I'm inviting people to unmute. Are they unmuting?
Something to say? So
yeah.
Unmute yourselves.
I think if we've got the whole support of the Chofetz Chaim Foundation, and they would be able to help with the publicity and everything, it could possibly be a great support to launch it from there.
They would definitely provide all the material that we need.
Yeah.
But then we would need to sort of get it out into the community through email groups, WhatsApp groups, shuls, and all that. So what would be great, if anybody's got a connection to anything, to particular groups or shuls, if we could make a team, and then when it comes to actually putting the word out, we do it through the communal channels, and also through our own private email list. That's a very, very effective way of getting people. I did have a chat to the president of COS, the Council of Orthodox Synagogues, and they would support it and endorse it and put it out to their shuls. So that could be helpful.
Yeah.
But if anybody's able to be involved and to help and to be part of the working committee or team, we don't do committees, team, then maybe you can just send me a private text or everything, and we can set up a meeting to strategize and plan a time, what time frame would be realistic, and to do it in the most optimal way. And also to liaise with other centres, with Melbourne, with Queensland, with maybe Adelaide.
Perth, I can do Perth.
Perth, great, yeah.
So I've invited everyone to unmute. Leanne, Natasha, Sylvia, Yael, if you want to have a look, you can unmute yourselves. Andrea, Angelina, Shana Feldman. So that's how it works. You've all been invited to unmute. You should be able to do that.
Also, the more it won't, it really won't be a lot of work, and just the initial work will be contacting all the organizations, getting their approval and involvement and logos. That will be the most, tactless thing to do. And then after that, it will just be a matter of sending out emails, social media, just getting the word out. So it's not a hard thing, but it does need attention and
Okay. Sorry, so yeah, Ale and Michelle, thank you for letting me know that there's too much noise to unmute. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I had one share where a dog barked the whole time. Some of you would have heard it. We could not work out who it was. So I appreciate that, both of you. Thank you.
All right. So is that then, if anybody's in a position to help and be involved in getting the word out and really making this make it huge, we could really make it huge.
When do you want to start?
Well, I think once we've got, if we can get a core or however many people who want to be involved, then we can maybe just discuss it and see what's a reasonable time frame to really get the word out as much as possible. I mean, I guess you don't want it to go on too long because you could lose steam, and then you just get to the point where you never get to the finish line.
Yeah.
But as I say, we've got another 3.5 weeks, I think, of this 2-month block. So maybe we could use that as a starting point and see, is that enough time that work, around that kind of time frame. Middle of June, so mid-July, end of July. I don't know.
I think we should definitely share that video clip of those two women.
Yeah.
I think that's inspirational, and maybe what I presume they will be sending us things as we go along. And maybe to just talk a bit about how, the more people are involved, the whole thing about community and people doing it as a community always brings many more brachas. Because there's unity and working together.
Okay, perfect. All right, so anybody who can lend a hand, obviously the more of us there are, the further we can spread our efforts, which will be amazing. So just send me a text. I'm going to send out the initial video with the women talking about how they set it up. I'll send that out tomorrow. And then just please be in touch with me, and we'll set up something and get going on it. That would be fantastic.
Great.
So it's exactly 30 minutes. We started a few minutes late. Should I do Dr. Seuss or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got our attention, or mine at least. Everybody seems wide awake. No one's sleeping that I can see. It's a good sign.
So Dr. Seuss, I'm sure, everybody knows Dr. Seuss, and he has such a lot of depth. But this particular story, I think, is so relevant to the work that we're doing.
Yeah, maybe everyone can mute themselves again now. That'll be great. Thanks.
I want to mute, do you?
Yeah, so that Jody can read in silence.
So this story is very pertinent to the work we're doing, I feel, because what happens before we say anything is what goes on in our heads, right? And the way we view something and the perspective we have and the mood that we're in and the way we're framing things and the way we're looking at our own success and our own measure really then expresses itself, and that's what comes across to the people we're with. That's the one area, and he describes this so beautifully. And the other thing is that also how to deal with our failures, because when we're really trying and we're really working at something, we tend to get demoralized when we disappoint ourselves. But the fact of the matter is that's part of the progress. It's part of the process. It's part of life. You can't do without it. So, and of course, in his beautiful, humorous way, there's so much depth, but you've got to see the humor as well. So this is, the places you'll go. Don't know, I can't, there we go. You can see it in mirror version. I don't know how much of it if you knew this one or if you remember it, but here we go. The places you'll go. Congratulations! Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head and feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know. And you are the guy who'll decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I'm not going there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not so good street. And you may not find any you want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers. You'll soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you'll top all the rest. Except when you don't. Because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch and your gang will fly on and you'll be left in the lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right? Or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite? Or go around the back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you'll find, for a mind maker-upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start to race down long wiggled roads at breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow. Or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone's just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone's just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip flapping once more, you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky. Ready because you're that kind of guy. Oh, the places you go, there's fun to be done. There are points to be scored, there are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with a whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't. Because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you'll play against you. All alone. Whether you like it or not, alone will be something. You'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go through the hack and crack, though the hack and cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with great care and tact. And remember, life's a balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And you will succeed. Yes, you will succeed. Indeed, 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So, be your name Buxbaum, or Bixie, or Bray, or Mordecai, Ali van Allen O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today's your day. Your mountain is waiting. So, get on your way. Is that not amazing? Beautiful. So, so true. And that's exactly what we found. So hopefully that will give a bit of inspiration, and we can take the sense of adventure and excitement. And when we hit the downs, we know that's part of the journey, and it just serves to strengthen us for the next step ahead.
Beautiful. Just before you finish, Jade, I see Shana Feldman put her hand up. So I just want to see, Shana, is there anything you wanted to ask? I'm asking you to unmute. Can you unmute yourself, Shana?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to thank Jody for all the inspirational quotes every day. It's really beautiful. The other thing I wanted to ask is how will this new venture be different than what's happening now? Like, I mean, will we add more people? Like, there'll be more people per hour? How are you gonna?
That's a really good question. I mean, in terms of us, we can either dovetail it with our own 2 hours or take on an extra hour. But I think that's one of the things that the team can decide. You know, do we keep our group going which could be quite nice as well, because we've got this thing happening. So we could keep this and have that as well and have the bigger group there, you know. That's one of the things we can decide together.
Right. Okay. It sounds amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think there is an aspect, Shana, that when people hear that it's a bigger group or people from overseas are doing it, it does create more excitement. And I think people want to participate more. Sort of, I don't know why it gives it more credibility or something. So I think it's something that we can add on. I think we need to reform our group, but I think when people hear it's part of a bigger project and there's special sheets, I think it'll, you know, excite certain people that wouldn't want to just be in a Sydney group or an Australian group.
Well,
I think that's one way that it'll be different. Yeah.
Well, let's hope we can get more people involved. It could only be positive.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it shouldn't be a hard sell, because it doesn't involve any effort from anybody that one's asking to be involved, you know. Like if you're asking a shul or something, all they need to do is send out an email.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like Renee's saying, you know, it has to be the in thing. People have to want to be a part of it, sort of thing. There is a point. Yeah, which is Yeah.
And they're the kind of thing, the more people you have, the more people will want to be involved. Right.
And getting the different shows involved, that's a good way, because, you know, if the Rebbitzins or the leaders or whatever support it, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I think having their endorsement and having their support, and maybe they can speak about it in their droshes or anything, that would be a very important aspect. That would give it a lot of momentum.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all soon.
Leanne,
good night, everyone.
If anybody wants to join the current group, you can text me and I'll send you a link to our group and the spreadsheet where you can sign up. I think it was Leanne who asked, so I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody.